everything fantasy football, you have to ask one question. Don't you deserve a fighting chance? And now, welcome to Fighting Chance Live with your hosts, Kevin Tompkins and Scott Fishbowl 9 winner, Gary Haddow.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Fighting Chance Live. I am Kevin Tompkins of FightingChanceFantasy.com. As always, the beautiful, vivacious Gary Haddow. Gary, my friend, how are you this evening?
Doing good, doing very good. It's always just this Wednesday is just such a nice break in the middle of the week. So happy to have our special guest on tonight and run through the games, even if COVID seems to be running rampant right now through the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And who better to do that with Nando Fino from The Athletic. I mean, we couldn't be more proud to have you on, my man. And how are you this
dude, let me tell you, man. I didn't know Gary. I didn't know you took down Scott Fishbowl. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Kevin used to basically run my favorite place in all of Syracuse. So trust me, this is mutual here, guys. This is pretty awesome.
Yes, this is slowly transitioning into a Syracuse podcast.
Yeah, right.
So
hold on. My mic's not even plugged. Sorry, man. I just realized my mic's not plugged in. Hold on one sec.
Oh, I thought you sounded weird now.
Yeah, I'm giving you guys amateur hour. Hold on a second. All right. All right, we're good now. Sorry about that.
We're supposed to cover the amateur hour, me and Gary, so you're here to pretty this thing up.
Well, the lights weren't moving on the board, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I just, you forget to plug things in.
Awesome. Well, Nando, again, thank you so much for coming on with us and spending some time. And for those of you living under a rock, Nando, tell us where we can find you on the World Wide Web.
You can Google the name. I'm on Twitter at Nando Fino, but it's kind of like a waste of a Twitter account. It's basically, it's really. I retweet a lot of interesting stuff from around the fantasy world, but it's it's not like a lot of fun, silly tweets. I kind of despise it, so don't expect much.
They just make you have a Twitter. It
really is. That's and I can't get out of it now. So.
Contractually obligated.
Yeah, I held out long enough, but I was one of the later adapters, but I had to do it. So, such is life.
That's awesome. I know, right? Exactly. But, yeah, man, thanks for joining us. And let's not waste some time. Let's get right into some Week 9 stuff. So, let's look at the Packers and the I want to call them the 49ers, but with all the injuries and COVID, they might be the 39ers at this point.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. I mean, right now, just today, we're no Brandon Ayuk, no Kendrick Bourne, no Trent Williams, a left tackle. So this bare bones San Francisco 49ers team, who already had lost Jimmy Garoppolo for 4 to 6 weeks, possibly 8 weeks, George Kittle out. What do we make of this team, Nando, right now?
So it's going to be weird because it's a Thursday night game on top of all the weirdness, which are usually kind of odd in their own right. But you know what, man? Like it's kind of interesting in a different kind of way. If you look at it, like a lot of these guys who are going to be starting, a lot of the complaints you hear on the Thursday night games are, we had a short week, we weren't really rested. If you're talking like Kevin White and Trent Taylor, it's not like they were running a lot of routes out there. Like they're rested, they're ready to go, man. Like this could actually be. Nick Mullins has like a string of 300-yard games. If you go back to when he was a sub for like 6 games a couple of years ago. This could be like an exciting, almost electric blowout by a well-rested team, a well-rested, good-coached team.
Yeah. When Mullins almost beat the Packers
probably just
on Monday Night Football. That was like 2 seasons ago. Yeah, it's just going to be a wild game, especially, JaMychal Hasty just came off the practice squad, a couple weeks ago, and then already, like last week, he was kind of their surprise starter when Coleman went down pretty quickly in the game, so I have no idea what the hell to make of this team, but it'll be a fun game to watch. It's not as if the Packers are immune to their own injuries and COVID situations. So,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm starting to lose track right now. Actually, with like the COVID guys, like what's going on? It's so like every day. It's not like baseball, where like half the Marlins are going to be out for 3 weeks. You just wait. Here, it's like Matthew Stafford has it. No, he doesn't. Like so, it's just it's so hard to track these things, man.
Yeah, you got to keep a damn checklist over, with guys. You get to just check them off as they hit the list here. But yeah, so Green Bay's likely without Aaron Jones. They haven't really officially said he's out, but I would guess they would keep him out another week. So right now we're looking at Tyler Irvin and Dexter Williams, who they brought up the practice squad. So if you're going to start one of those, I mean, you're desperate anyway. But is it going to be the jet sweeping Tyler Irvin, or is it going to be Dexter Williams? Who would you rather start out of those two? Back against the wall.
No, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you're asking me. Dude, it's definitely Dexter Williams. A couple years ago, Emery Hunt, who's now moved on to CBS from The Athletic, he's like the best football mind I know, was writing about Dexter Williams and how he's got a shot if things fall into place, the right way. He could be something, and he's talented enough to do it. And he's I think Jake actually compared him to Darrell Henderson off of the.
Wow.
If you read, Jake wrote this article when he went to the combine a couple of years ago. It was his first time going to the combine. It was very like first person-y, the first timer's guide to the combine. And this is what I did, and here are the mistakes I made and stuff. And he was one of the guys he wanted to talk to. He was very intrigued by. So, I mean, if you got Jake and Emery talking up Dexter Williams, I picked him up a bunch of places, and I went out and got a couple of his football cards. I'm excited.
I was
for
high
Dexter
on him.
Williams. Yeah.
Yeah, I was eyeing him. What was it, last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was, when he came into the league, and obviously did nothing. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. I think for fantasy, this game is just going to be so weird. You're starting Adams, you're starting Rodgers, probably starting JaMychal Hasty. I really don't know who else you're going to be able to start. Jamal Williams and AJ Dillon, they're out on COVID. So I also just throw the big question mark: is this game actually going to happen tomorrow? I don't know why they would risk having the game when you have this many players that are out, but hey, I don't write the paychecks for the NFL. I wish I did, but I'm sure that they want to make sure that they're getting their viewership on Thursdays.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of sloppy logic behind it where they've already gotten rid of one Thursday night game. You can't just keep doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But speaking of sloppy, let's get over to into the early slate with the Giants and the Washington football teamers. So right now we're really just it's a pretty hard fade on the Giants backfield. So if you're going to grab a wide receiver off of the Giants and start them in between Shepard, Slayton, and Golden Tate, I would actually just throw Shepard and Slayton out there. Who do you like out of those two receivers as far as if you're going to start a Giants receiver against the football team?
I like Slayton. I like Shepard. I think is solid. I think Slayton has, if you're 4-4, that's your upside that you want to go with. And I kind of like Golden Tate, the squeaky wheel. Like I've seen all over my timeline today, a lot of stuff like people studying Golden Tate's routes and some of the film, and like Dan Duggan just did 10 photos of Golden Tate and breaking down where he was. I think in his last 15 routes run or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, he's made enough noise now where they'll just throw him the ball and be like, all right, here are your 10 targets, dude. So that might be an interesting twist.
That has nothing to do with his wife on Instagram, throwing that out.
Well, I think that's what spurred this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. So we've seen T.Y. Hilton's grandmother couldn't get anything out of him, and now maybe we'll be seeing the spouse get something out of Golden Tate here. But Gary, so about Washington now. I mean, Terry McLaurin. I mean, for me, he's matchup proof. I mean, we'll look at what he did against Bradbury. In their earlier matchup, he went 7 for 74 on 12 targets. Anybody else you're thinking of? I mean, Antonio Gibson, I would say, is a pretty solid RB2 at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you don't start Antonio Gibson. They clearly love him. They want to keep giving him the ball. I mean, especially coming out of a bye, you have a player of that, I don't know, just caliber, who seems like he's going to be one of those guys in the next year or two that you're just going to continue watching getting better and better and better, especially as the pieces around him eventually start to get better. The only other thing that I'm curious about is Logan Thomas. He's on a little bit of a hot streak. I think it was 3 for 42 and 1, and then like 4 for 32 and 1 or whatever it was. So if he can get another touchdown here, obviously Kyle Allen is looking for him in the red zone, and he's never been bad for targets this whole season. It's just his output wasn't really there. And now here we are. Is he going to be NBA Jam Rules going on fire this week, or is it just going to go back to kind of lame duck Logan Thomas? So that's something I'm curious to see.
Yeah, the previously dusty Logan Thomas. We'll see if he can make that 3 for 3 here. Terry McLaurin. I mean, if we're talking about him, he's tied for first with Devontae Adams in the Whopper metric. There, he's tied for first in air yard share, tied for fifth in target share at 29%. So, I mean, at this point, you just absolutely have to smash him every single week he's healthy. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Who are you going to start in a 2 QB league? Either Danny Dimes, or Kyle Allen.
Daniel Jones is running a lot, man. I mean, you could expect upwards of 5 to 6 just rushing yards points from him every week at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's more realistic to think 3 or 4, but he's got a couple 70-yard games in his last 3. He had a few actually. So I mean, he's kind of making up for his mistakes with the legs, but I mean, he did all right last week against a very good defense. Like 250, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he showed up. I mean, that was a wild game. I think everybody was kind of caught off guard there. That struck me as one of those the Bucs were already thinking about, whoever they're playing this week.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you. it's been
It's
a
in the
wild
rundown,
week.
Gary.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so let's dive right into Chicago at Tennessee. Now, Gary wanted me to wax poet. You know what? I'll let Gary lead this one in because I know he wants to ask me something about this game.
Yeah, so I mean, you're obviously going to be starting Allen Robinson and David Montgomery, and Montgomery right now is the third highest targets at running back, which I was shocked by. But then I remembered how many injuries we have to the top end guys. So that leaves us with kind of the number 2 on the team, which is Darrell Mooney. And Kevin, like, why do you like him so much? You're somebody that you've been pumping him for a bit, and he finally had his breakout game. So what about his game is titillating for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about him since, that Thursday night game where he really, if Nick Foles hadn't airmailed that ball or thrown it 15 yards outside of him, we'd be talking about him a lot more than we are. But he did have his best game last week. He went 5 for 69 and a touchdown. Now he gets a Titans team that, they couldn't pressure Cincinnati. They let Joe Burrow pretty much pick him apart. So now we're talking about a guy who has 17.9 yard ADOT, and he's third in air yards between week 6 and 8. He's a guy that's going to be getting the targets, and if they're not going to pressure him, not going to pressure Nick Foles, they're going to be able to get those deep looks and get those shots off. So that's a guy aside from Allen Robinson that I think has a good shot of being maybe a wide receiver 3 to a flex each week at this point. He's surpassed Anthony Miller. He's looking really good. His footwork is looking fantastic. Just look up some of those gifs of him against Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he ate that guy's lunch. So that's a guy I'm definitely looking at trending upwards as the season starts to wind down. What do you think about Darnell Mooney, Nando?
I guess I've been convinced by Jake. Again, it's like I edit all the fantasy stuff, so I'm just reading opinions all day from all these guys, and he's kind of convinced me on Mooney. He's convinced me that he's at least the number 2 there. I just don't know what that means. Nick Foles, I'm hot and cold on, and I know a lot of it depends on him. I'm one of the few people who still like David Montgomery. It seems like the entire fantasy world has turned their back on him. So for me, it's somewhat of a volume thing. I guess I'm willing to believe, but I guess I'm not leading the parade. I guess like you are. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not going out and buying the guy's jersey yet. So I mean, let's pump the brakes.
Still Johnny Munt.
Yeah, hey, Johnny Munt season is well underway, but no, I just, as far as Mooney goes, I think he's just he did really well at Tulane. I think he was a really good end of the draft target. Wish my Packers had picked him up because trust me, you need a wide receiver more than ever. Certainly Mooney is worth that conversation, and it's worth having the conversation too about Mooney that can Chicago support a second wide receiver. We saw Anthony Miller do really well at the end of last season and maybe provide some hope that he could have been that guy. Right now, he's really not providing anything on a fantasy standpoint, and Mooney is maybe trending upwards to having the potential to do that. It's really just the quarterback at this point that's really holding them back, but everything else is there.
So that's a question I have for Nando then. with your deep industry knowledge.
Yeah.
What are you hearing about Trubisky? Do you actually think that Trubisky is going to be coming in soon, or are they just going to keep rolling Foles until he just crash and burns?
Well, I just read somewhere Trubisky's hurt.
Huh?
That one play he came in for, I think he hurt his shoulder. It was a tweet that came through. I wasn't paying a ton of attention to it. But I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be this is a Foles thing now, and they're gonna live and die by Foles. And Trubisky can, like they say, he can scare you a little bit with his legs, but I don't know what that's worth anymore, man. Like it seems like they got a good record, Like why re-mess with things?
Yeah, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
So then on the other side of the ball, with Tennessee, you got Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. I think they're set and forget. You're never going to take them out of your lineup. Tannehill is kind of a question mark for me going up against this Bears DST. And so I'll throw it back again to Nando, and that's where would you have Tannehill? Is he a QB1, and is he just a QB1 rest of the season and just stop thinking about it?
Yeah, I think I fought it long enough. I actually started to believe in this Adam Gase, the post Adam Gase world kind of stuff. I'm in, man. At this point, he's got a healthy receiving core. He's got a healthy Jonnu Smith. There are all these reasons to like him, and I think one of the reasons we don't is because he's Ryan Tannehill. And Chicago scares me a little bit, but I think he's still going to squeak in at 11-12 when you look at the landscape.
Yeah. Especially, and you can run on them, and if he uses his legs at all, you get those extra points. It definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other option there is Jonnu, and it feels like everybody bets on Jonnu at some point in the season, and you just hope that you're there for the couple weeks where he has his blow up games, and the rest of them he just kind of falls into that abyss of mediocrity.
Which is, that's cool. It's like him and Ebron in the same sentence you're talking about, and they do the same thing. And you could even, I don't know where else I would put him in that, but yeah, that's exactly what he is. He's why can't I think of the guy who just retired who was playing there last year? It's
Delaney Walker.
Yeah,
Delaney Walker. He slid right into the Delaney Walker role. It was pretty he's kind of following his career path.
Yeah, he's a little bit more up and down. He's a little bit more Tyreek than Julian Edelman, which Delaney Walker was just the 10 catches for 18 yards type thing, and then he would have his blow up yardage game and a random couple touchdowns. But
yeah,
John is a beast. Once they start using him even more, not that offense needs any tweaking, they're doing a damn good job right now. So. Kevin, why don't you take us into our NFC North matchup?
Yeah, let's get into Lions and Vikings. So we know Galladay's going to be out. So as far as the other pass catcher, Nando, do you have any interest at all in either Marvin Hall or Quintus Cephas? I know Hall was a big waiver wire guy. Cephas was pretty much down in there, but he did have that 10-target game in Week 1. He did show a little bit, but we really haven't seen him since those first 2 weeks. But I would say if anybody was going to take that X receiver role, it would be more of a Quintus Cephas. And they did look at Mohamed Sanu and kind of kick the tires this week. Didn't see anything where they're going to sign him, but he wouldn't have played this week anyway. But what do you think about those two guys outside of Marvin Jones and Damian Amendola?
I like Cephas actually. I'm kind of from the school if you did it once already, at least this you've shown that you can do it. You might do it again. There's someone there looking at you enough to have a big enough game, and for whatever reason, you didn't have another one of those. I think Cephas had would he have 1.5 more games where he was kind of like the starter. But I don't know what's going on with Stafford. His wife is saying that everyone's clean and they're negative, but they're the reports that he's on the COVID list already. That's going to be an interesting twist. If you got to bring in the backup, maybe that's
Mr. Chase Daniels himself.
Yeah, exactly. That could be a Quintez Cephas thing, man. They practice, they know each other, that kind of thing. So, all signs for me are pointing to Cephas, no matter who's starting.
As of 5 hours ago, I just searched it right now, NFL.com, which I've never used as a reliable, but whatever they probably are. They're saying that Stafford, as long as he tests negative, he'll be fine and he can play because it's a 5-day rule.
There's that then. That's good.
Yeah. Ask your doctor if Cephas is right for you. That's that's where I'm at with him. So then going on to the Vikings here, Dalvin Cook came off of a 4-touchdown game against my Packers. It was it was.
How are you a
his
Packers
show.
fan from Syracuse?
My grandpa lived in Madison, came back from Korea, and settled in Syracuse, worked at the GE plant there, and here we are.
Wow. All right, man. Nice. That's
Absolutely.
great.
So
It's all Bills and Giants, and some Jets.
you don't know how awesome it is to not have to flip through and see a Bills or Giants game anymore. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now it's Vikings and I get to watch the Packers all the time now, so it's great.
Gary, you're not a Cuse guy, are you? You're not a Cuse guy?
No, I live in Texas. I'm in Austin.
Figured I'd take a shot. Yeah.
No, there's actually a huge crew of us. Brian Drake, who's at Fighting Chance Fantasy with us. Brian and Kevin, right? It's
Petey.
Oh, Petey, yeah, and another guy, Petey. Like, there's all these guys from Syracuse, and actually, Brian
Nice.
and Petey's like wives work together at the same school. It's crazy,
That's
and no
awesome.
one knew each other beforehand. This
How
is all
about
like
that?
from Twitter folk.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. But yeah, so Dalvin Cook obviously set and forget. There's no question about that. Thielen and Jefferson in this matchup, you got to expect one of them to go off and the other to have a solid game there. They're pretty much locked in. So the question really goes to Kirk Cousins. I think I have him right around that streaming quarterback range, 12 to 14. But what do you think about Irv Smith this week as far as a streaming tight end?
Man, I'm like, he's so far off my radar. I don't even like. There's so many people I would consider ahead of Irv Smith that I'm just. What's weird is Kyle Rudolph's in that category too. I think it's just a Minnesota tight end. I'm just off. Like there're just some guys who are just totally grayed out when I think of a list of tight ends. He's one of them. He's just grayed out before we even start.
He was gaining traction. It's like we really thought Irv Smith might be that guy, kind of take a deep shot on him in draft season. Did nothing, whatever. And then the last 2 weeks, he had 4 for 65, pretty much back-to-back weeks. And I thought, I'll take a shot on him again this past week, and of course went back to obscurity. So, man, maybe next year will be the year.
That's it's a familiar refrain with tight ends.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he was 21 when he came out, so. Still got a lot of time to hit on that potential. So let's go over to Panthers at Chiefs here. So the big news there, Christian McCaffrey slated to be back. For anybody that could not trade Mike Davis, you're still holding on to him. Do you think there's going to be any kind of split there, Nando, as far as working CMC back into the fold and maybe keeping a little bit of Mike Davis just to kind of soften the blow there as far as him coming back?
I think so. I mean, this isn't the Ron Rivera run this guy into the ground coaching staff. I mean, I know they were kind of doing that early, but Mike Davis proved that he can play, so I don't see why they wouldn't give him, 6-7 touches at least.
Yeah,
Ish.
totally see. Yeah, can totally see that. I mean, I don't. They're not going to give CMC that 90% snap share. I can't see that at all this week. And then again, going up against Kansas City too, and as far as Kansas City, I mean, you're pretty much starting everybody. There's no question there. But I want to know your thoughts, Nando, on the backfield split between CH and Lev Bell. Is that Adam Gase narrative going to be coming back for some good games for Bell?
Yeah, I was from the second he signed there, I was a Le'Veon Bell guy. I think you brought in a veteran who knows how to pass block and who's been through a lot of this before, who's played at the highest level, MVP level, versus a rookie who's good. But I mean, I don't know, man. You're trying to repeat your title. You're trying to protect your quarterback. You're trying to do all this stuff. I don't see why it's not going to be Le'Veon Bell with at least a 60-40 split and probably more likely 65-35 or even 70-30. I just as good as Edwards-Helaire has been, I don't think you bring in Le'Veon Bell that kind of structure thing, at least. And on Bell's side, man, I don't think he's doing it just to get a ring. This guy held out an entire season of football to get paid, and now he's playing for his next contract again. Yeah. So I don't know why you jump on a team that would be we'll give you 5 carries, but you can get a ring. I think he's going in to prove his value, and they kind of made him a little promise like that. So. I'm all on Bell. I'm getting as much Bell as I can. Will people still think that Edwards-Helaire might have a bigger side of the split?
70-30. That's ballsy for.
Well, I mean, I could see it. Basically. that's the outlier dot. But I mean, I can see
okay.
it. Yeah. I can't see Edwards-Helaire 70-30. I can see Bell 70-30. How about that?
Yeah, that's totally fair. It's definitely within the range of outcomes because you mean we're looking at Lev Bell with Pittsburgh, a great back and a special offense, and now after being pretty much thrown away by Adam Gase, now he's back in a special offense, and you got to figure he's a bit rejuvenated now and willing to prove something there. So yeah, I think if he gets 60-40, if he's going to get some of that high leverage work, maybe more goal line stuff and get some receiving, receiving too. I mean, over CEH. I think people think with the kind of the dynasty mentality in mind with CEH and just wanting him to get 80% snap share and getting 20 carries every game and 6 catches and all this stuff. But they're trying to win a title, so they're going to bring in guys that are going to help them in the long run. And Bell is going to be especially when the weather gets colder, when they start getting into playoff football, that's a guy that's going to be helping you big time.
I really thought one of the biggest shocks of this past weekend was this game that was going to be a total blowout, and it was, and we all thought that Bell was going to have his revenge game. No, Patrick Mahomes is like, fuck this. I'm just going to throw for 405 touchdowns? Like, what?
Dude, so my theory was that Bell wasn't going to have that revenge game because if you're rehabbing your image like this, you're all about team, and you're like, this team's got my revenge against Adam Gase is us beating them silly. And I'm team guy. I'm not a Le'Veon Bell guy. I'm a team guy. So if that's the case, that worked.
Yeah.
If he's a real team guy, he won't be playing that his rap album on the locker room. That's all I'll say about that. Let's get over to Texans at Jaguars. So we saw this game a few weeks ago. We saw that big Brandon Cooks blow-up game with 161 receiving yards. So, I would certainly expect more of the same here with Houston. The big question with Jacksonville is Jake Luton, from Oregon State, big kid. What can you tell us anything about Luton and anything that we can kind of expect out of him in his first start against Houston?
Dude, I have no idea what to expect from Jake Luton, man. I'm sorry. When it comes to this, I kind of rely more on the offensive coordinator. The style that Gruden plays. He likes to use his tight ends a lot. And when you're just deer in the headlights kind of situation, maybe he'll be Justin Herbert. I don't know. But I mean, he's probably going to rely on the tight ends a little bit. So I would assume that there's going to be a good tight end game coming up. James Robinson obviously going to lean on, but obviously the defense is going to be keyed on him at the same time. I know a lot of people are expecting a big game from Shenault. I don't know, man. It's just such an odd. I didn't expect him to get the start. Actually, I mean, so good on Marone for doing that, but I really have zero idea what to expect from Jake Luton. None. I don't know what's going to happen.
I will say from what I did a little bit of looking around and stumbled upon Greg Cosell, and he did kind of liken him to a bit of Jared Goff or Alex Smith, a guy that's not going to make a lot of mistakes, that is willing to check down. So basically it sounds like Trent Edwards to me. I mean,
hey, you know what? Chris Thompson's back. Chris Thompson's off the COVID list. I'm pretty sure he's back off IR. I mean, if you're going to do that, there's your guy. I know James Robinson's been catching passes, but maybe this just fits better into the Jake Luton game plan.
And I'd say that probably would bode well for Shenault as well. It's gonna cripple Chark. He's already been crippled as it is. But I mean, DJ Chark being drafted in the 5th round, and you're basically you're not getting much out of him now, just with the sorry state of the offense. And it's as a Chark truther, it kills me, man. I can't lie, but. Right now without Minshew, with Jake Luton, whatever we can get out of him, I mean, we'll see what happens. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't I'm starting Tua over him 100 times out of 100 if that puts him in any context. I don't even know if he was in that context, but
you're starting Cooper Rush or you're starting Jake Luton.
I don't even know if Cooper Rush going to be this. That's
it's
another
Garrett
crazy
Gilbert.
one. Man.
I'm pretty sure they announced Garrett Gilbert today.
Did they? See, I don't know.
I think so. I don't even know what the hell that means, that you just sign a guy pretty much off the street and now he's starting behind what should have been your third? That's going to be their 5th. If Cooper played, that would be their 5 QBs. That's insane.
And there's not even a poor song to Ben DiNucci. They're just it was just no one even made the case hey, give DiNucci another shot. It was just out.
It's never good in the post-game interview, and you're like, this NFL thing, it's kind of hard. You're like, well, we're never starting you again. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and you know what's bad when he just completely goes off. And this is a guy, Mike McCarthy, that started Scott Tolzien and Seneca Wallace in Green Bay. So you know that really says something about the Nucci there.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, real shame. But yeah,
we'll move on.
We hardly knew Ye Benvenucci.
Yeah. So Baltimore and Indy, I am particularly very excited for this game from a real life fantasy perspective. For real life football perspective. I just think these two teams, they're both pretty much destined to be in the playoffs, and who knows, maybe play each other again. And I just think that they're just really interesting teams. Now, from a fantasy perspective, I mean, Baltimore is just completely underperforming. Is Baltimore and all of its pieces, so Lamar, Andrews, Mark, Hollywood, and we'll go with Dobbins, maybe Gus, even if you want to throw in there. Are they buy lows right now? Dobbins isn't a buy low, but
yeah, probably. I mean, Mark Ingram's probably the ultimate buy low. I don't know what it's going to turn out to be like when the dust settles, but no one wants anything. Yeah, well, I mean, no one wants anything to do with him at all.
Yeah.
Everyone else, you're kind of buying more like a discount. Lamar Jackson, I think everyone's still just kind of anticipating him blowing up at some point. But there was like this weird story that I read a few weeks ago that kind of talked about how Greg Roman wanted, like when they lost to Tennessee, they figured out they were like a one-dimensional team, and so they wanted to change the offense a little bit just to kind of keep people on their toes and be a little more, I guess, have a little more depth to them. And I'm kind of worried that they overdid that. You know what I mean? Like,
like okay, 3 running backs that each get like 5.
Yeah, carries. Right? Like, okay, you lost to the Titans, man. That sucks, but it could have been a bunch of things. You don't have to destroy Lamar Jackson for all of us.
They beat the Patriots and they almost beat the Chiefs. Like, let's slow down, man.
So I don't know. Like, it's. I guess you could try and buy low and hope that they maybe just inch a little bit closer to what they were doing that gave them a lot of success last year, but they're still winning. So who's going to tell them, like, don't do that?
Yeah, that defense is lights out. That I'm excited to see once they can get Ngakoue going. That defensive line is going to be so awesome. But again, this is another team, we haven't mentioned it, bitten by the COVID bug. And what is that? Marlon Humphreys, and I think Patrick Queen is going to be out also. Yeah. So who the hell knows what's going to be? Again, this game's so weird. On the other side of the ball, so we know Indy has a good defense. Is there anyone that you are excited to start on the Colts this particular week against that Baltimore defense?
Nyheim Hines, maybe a little bit. I like how he kind of came alive last week, and maybe they're finally figuring out like we can use this guy and he can be great. But besides that, no, I'm interested to see what Michael Pittman can do. I guess a couple weeks from now, maybe not, just throwing him into the Baltimore fire again.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. That's an odd team.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that was the guy that I kind of pegged was Nyheim Hines too. But even him, you really can't, it's hard to trust him week to week, because he always just seems to throw a dud in there every couple or every third game. But I want to go back to Baltimore. Look at their playoff schedule, 13, 14, 15, 16. Dallas at Cleveland, Jacksonville, and the Giants. If you're going to buy anybody, for your playoff run, if, Lamar Jackson, it's going to cost maybe not as much, obviously, in the beginning of the season now, but, that's a solid buy there. Hollywood Brown, you're looking at a guy who, he's wide receiver 42 in PPR right now, but you still got the target share. You still got the air yard share at 40%. So, that's a guy that hasn't popped off yet that you can get at a discount. And, I just talked with, my girlfriend's brother-in-law who's sent me a DM. He's like, I'm so pissed off at Marquise Brown. I'm going to just drop him. Like, no, dude, don't.
No rage dropping.
Yeah, don't. If you do anything, don't do that. There's better weeks coming. And, I think with that playoff schedule, if you're still in it with guys like that, definitely hold on to them. But if you're looking for kind of pieces to maybe put you over the top, those I don't know if I throw Andrews in there because Andrews is really underperforming outside of 2 games with 2 touchdowns. He's really just I'm at the point right now as a guy who's drafted a lot of Mark Andrews that there's tight ends I'd much rather start and probably will than Mark Andrews until we really see it from him. But it's tough sledding for the Ravens, but it's gonna get better.
They're a better real football team.
Yeah.
We just got to live
Too
with
good
it.
of a defense.
Yeah. Gary, you ever have a Cooney?
A Cooney.
Yeah.
You don't even know what a Cooney is.
Oh, it's
man.
great. It's so crazy, like how people from outside of Syracuse don't know what they are.
The hell
They
is a
think it's
Cooney?
just a regular hot dog with chili and cheese, and that's a Coney to a lot of people.
That's crazy.
Look
Are we
up
talking about hot dogs?
Yeah, it's a white veal. Get a little spice to it. So good.
pork
It's a
and egg
white
whites,
hot
man.
dog.
Yeah,
That sounds like a sausage.
it's a Hoffman. It's sausage casing. Go look up Hoffman, HOFMANNCONEY, Cooney. Just you'll be glad you did. And you'll be looking on Google image search like, what the hell is this? But dude, I'm gonna get some sent to me by Hides actually.
Nice. And then, Gary, some other time we'll tell you about how Syracuse cuts their pizza differently than the rest of the world. That's a fun one.
Twin Trees.
Yeah, I was
That's
just
the
there.
place.
I was just there.
Oh man, I envy you.
This is my
I've
favorite.
heard you talk about that place before.
Twin Trees 2.
Is that the is that the one in Mattydale or is that the one in Solvay?
That's the
I
one in
can't remember.
Solvay.
Okay. Yeah, the one because I lived in Liverpool, so I'd always go up to Mattydale. So that
Makes
was the one
sense.
I went to. I didn't go to 57, which is barely a Twin Trees, but
Rips?
yeah.
I got a
Cut
Twin
your
Trees.
pizza into
I should
strips?
have brought. I got a Twin Trees. I bought a pint glass last time I was there. Bought it. Didn't even take it. Bought it.
So what constitutes a slice if you're cutting your pizza into strips?
It's, I guess
It's a
one.
strip.
Do they tell you like you get like 50? You know.
Oh, you don't
this
buy
has
those by
15
the
pizzas.
You don't get those by the slice. Like they do regular triangles when you're buying by the slice, but when you buy the pizza, they cut it.
Oh, they're
across
just
a
supposed
bunch
to
of
be
times.
triangles.
Probably like 7 vertical things and then 6 across. Yeah. So
You guys are
It's
wild
so good.
people. Spice of life there.
Tastes so much better.
I'm gonna send you some damn Coonies, Gary.
Yeah,
It's
Gary.
happening.
Well, we'll move on to the Syracuse, and we'll just go up a little bit to Buffalo. So Seattle's going to be at Buffalo. This will be an interesting game, or in theory, it's going to be an interesting game. Who the hell knows what Buffalo even is at this point? I saw the stat that I think the last time the Bills started the season 6-1, I think that's their record, that they made it to the Super Bowl. So it's like, hey, is that going to happen again? I have no idea how it could with that defense of theirs, but for fantasy purposes, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs is going to smash against the Seattle hapless defense. When it comes to the backfield, are you more of a Moss guy or are you a Singletary?
I'm more of a Singletary. I just think he's. I don't know. I
Different
it's
strokes.
Yeah, that's it. It's great. Like Singletary is kind of like David Montgomery, and I'm not saying you do. Just like it seems like they're the hottest ticket in town, and then the next year when someone else comes in, everyone forgets about how much they were talking about how much they loved him the year before. Like last year, Singletary was going to be the greatest back in the world and 3rd round back and whatever. And then Zach Moss shows up and we're like, oh, Singletary sucks. But I think everything that people said about him last year was true. He's very talented. He's going to fit well in Dable. I think Brian Dable has a lot of New England in him. People just haven't seen it yet. They passed a lot, yeah, but every other year he's running offense. They ran a lot.
Yeah.
So he could just shift gears when he wants to play like a rope-a-dope. And I think Singletary is going to get a lot of James Whitey kind of play. Just a hunch.
I'm just so nervous that Singletary looked good enough that you thought, man, if they don't bring someone back in, this is going to be awesome. Gore's going to be gone. But I honestly just now I'm like Singletary is a comp, not a change of pace back. He is a compliment. Back. You have to have somebody else with him. He's not somebody that you're going to be giving 20 plus touches a game. He's just too small for that. And I think that on what is in theory a high-powered offense, even if they've had a down couple weeks, that Zach Moss is just, you're already talking about vulturing touchdowns with Josh Allen. Now you're going to have to worry about Zach Moss. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I don't know. I think I'd rather have Moss at this point, but maybe that's just shiny new toy. I think it's shiny new toy plus touchdown upside.
That's fair. That's fair.
Moss is the Singletary was the pretty girl at the dance. Now Moss walks in a little bit, Moss is pretty, but a little bit prettier, and all the guys are going to flock over to him.
Moss is the drunk senior,
Singletary-
right? That's what it is.
Singletary's just left holding the bag, like what the hell. But maybe that was a bad analogy, but screw it. It's 2020. That's
Well,
the worst
Moss is
thing
a
that
drunk
happens.
senior.
I know where you're going with it.
What's funny is that in the offseason when we had the Majukes on, and I'm pretty sure when we were talking about Moss, and the quote was, no, it wasn't with her, it was with, I can't remember her name, and it was, you're not in fucking college anymore.
That's Liz Loza.
Liz Loza. That's
Liz
what we were
Loza.
talking, I think, about Moss also. Anyway, moving on to Seattle. So everybody in that backfield is gone. And now DJ Dallas, apparently DJ Dallas is going to be a good back if he's given the opportunity, at least for fantasy purposes. I will admit I was not as glued to that game as I normally would be after it was just a shellacking by Seattle. God, the first 7 minutes, I was like, fuck yeah, we are about to do this. We're looking up, and there's a fumble, and then there's an interception like this. All right, bye, guys. Wife, I'm going to be in a bad mood the rest of the day. We'll chat later. So, DJ Dallas, you're going to be starting him again.
No, he was so inefficient, and you look at his fantasy points, it was awesome. You look at his carries, it was awesome, and you kind of look at everything else, you're like, oh, that wasn't great. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone pops up somewhat healthy, like if Homer shows up and he's like, I'm way better now, that it just shifts right back to him. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't have a problem with it if kind of the situation was exactly the same, because you'll probably get another 20 carries out of him, and even if that's 40 yards, maybe you get that touchdown. But I'm not I'd start Singletary over him if that's helpful.
Yeah.
If that's not too obvious. I don't know if that's too obvious. I don't know what's obvious anymore. It's a very weird
don't
week.
know what's obvious.
Yeah,
I guess
I
it's
have no
the
idea.
Niners. It throws everything off because the Niners are supposed to be a really good rush defense and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden I think it was one on the ground and one through the air for DJ Dallas. So that kind of threw stuff. I feel like you have to start him just because his name is fun.
Yeah.
DJ Dallas, what's up?
Yeah,
Spell that phonetically.
Yeah.
I mean, from what we know, Chris Carson's not going to practice until Friday. I would think Homer's going to be a lot more involved. Now, I think he was mainly in an emergency capacity last week. I believe he only got 2 touches out of the backfield. And then, Carlos Hyde's already been ruled out. So it's pretty much going to be the same thing going this week. And I would think Homer would get a lot more run in this offense, certainly in the passing downs.
Homer did not practice today, or as we should call him, CJ Process Light.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they always just have the exact same. Well, not crazy coaching, but I don't know, just the exact same guy right there. So, Kevin, take us into the Denver Atlanta game.
Yeah, so Broncos at the Falcons. We saw Jerry Jeudy lead the league in air yards last week with 159, and let's not forget that he was the guy in Alabama that was going deep, and that was not Henry Ruggs. So I think he's a really solid, wide receiver three this week against Atlanta. And then we have Noah Fant as well, who's starting to come on as well. Is there anybody else you want to start in Denver aside from those two guys? It's a little bleak, but anybody else?
Probably not. Maybe it's, depending on the health of KJ Hamler, but I think he's still down right with a hamstring. So he was
same thing with
so
Tim
hot.
Patrick.
Yeah, but Hamler got hurt 2 weeks before Patrick. I know not all hamstrings are created equal, but if he pops back in, there's a shot because he'll be the number 2, I assume, with Patrick still out. But man, he was just about to break through and then got hurt, so that sucked. But maybe depending on his health.
That's the story of 2020. He was about to break through, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
If you're writing a book, that's the title.
The over-under of 50 is weird to me. That just feels really high for a good defense in Denver and a somewhat inept offense in Denver going against a bad defense. I don't know, 50. I don't bet on any of this stuff, but that sounds too high.
They're usually right. That's what I've learned.
They're so goddamn smart.
They know something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably a little bit smarter than us here. Maybe not you, Nando, but
John Elway's got COVID.
Really?
That's another
Really?
one. Yeah, let me double check that before I make sure that I'm almost positive I read that.
I think my wife said that either it was John Elway or the president.
I think it was both of them.
Okay, which makes sense. They probably hang out, drink.
Oh man, we're breaking everything here.
Yeah,
We don't want the Elway camp. I'm gonna direct them back to you.
The real Rappaport. John Elway and CEO Joe Ellis have tested positive for COVID-19. Source said.
Source.
Moving on to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your source? Literally us.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go over to Atlanta. So you're starting, your studs, Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Julio. Calvin Ridley has that midfoot sprain. So we'll see how that goes. But if he doesn't play, is Russell Gage back in play this week?
I assume like that's by process of elimination. I think it's that midfoot sprain. Those usually take some like you're out for like 2 to 3 weeks. I have zero faith in Calvin Ridley coming back right now. So yeah, I would put Russell Gage back on that list. Maybe Hayden Hurst a little bit.
Yeah.
I expected bigger things from Hayden Hurst.
So did I.
He has his games. I mean, if he had touchdowns, he would be in the same vein as Jonnu and just all these other guys where they'll just randomly have 65 and 2. He just doesn't have as much of the touchdowns right now.
Right. Right.
Which is just Atlanta in general. All the touchdowns just funnel through Gurley.
Yeah.
One day they'll figure it out. Maybe it's a Matt Ryan thing. Who knows?
We'll see. So yeah, let's go over to the late slate here. We got Vegas at the Chargers here. So, that game, that 16-6 game against the Browns, kind of chalk that up to a weather kind of anomaly there. But, we're looking at, two options that we're starting no matter what here, Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. But it leads to the quarterback, Derek Carr, who's been pretty solid this year. Is he QB1 for you, or is he more of a streamer this week against the Chargers?
I think he's running that line. I'd push him into QB1 territory, but I'm a believer in Henry Ruggs, and I'm a little bit of a believer in Nelson Aguilar. So I think obviously the receivers are going to lift him up a little more and give him an extra 35 to 40 yards off projections. It's not like I love Carr. I love his situation. I think he can maybe find Ruggs maybe open up Ruggs a little bit more than he has been and get some extra yardage out of it.
They tried to go to Aguilar last week, and it was a goal line pass, and he almost had it. It can't even remember the specific outcome, but it made me be like, man, if he got another touchdown, that's where people are going to have to start paying attention.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And then over to the Chargers, we saw Justin Jackson pretty much take over the snaps, carries, and routes run in that offense. That kind of leaves Josh Kelly in the dust. And another guy that may start to leave Kelly in the dust is Tremaine Pope. So as far as that backfield, we know Justin Jackson has a stranglehold. Now, I'll go to Gary on this first. What is your assessment on outside of Justin Jackson? Do you think there's anybody worth, maybe take a flare on Pope, or are you kind of sticking with Kelly? What do you think, Gary?
No, I mean, I feel like at this point, Kelly and Pope probably should be rostered in, your 12 team leagues and beyond, but I'm not going to be starting either of them. It's Justin Jackson until Eckler gets back. The fact that Kelly's snap percentage, I think, dropped down to 18% this past week. That's not good. We all thought that maybe he was going to be the second coming of Melvin. And here we are. I remember during the game being like, what the hell is going on? Tweeting, why is Tremaine Pope getting so many damn touches? And we were like, oh, they're running out the clock. They're not running out the clock. They're just intentionally losing the game. What is going on here? I don't know. Fire Anthony Lynn.
Oh boy. All right. So let's go over to where were we here? We were at. I lost my place, Gary.
I just got to say one thing. Somehow the Denver Atlanta game is over under 50, and the Las Vegas Chargers game is over under 52. What the hell is that? The Vegas Chargers game is going to be so much more high scoring.
People love their Herbert, man. That's it. You put
He's
4 touchdowns
awesome.
for Herbert,
He's
and that's
so
20,
awesome. He is by far, aside from James Robinson, probably actually above James Robinson, the most fun player, I think, so far this year relative to expectations and everything. Herbert's just they struck gold with him.
Yeah. And they struck Tyrod Taylor's punctured lung too. They're gonna give him the key of the city once Herbert has a Hall of Fame career starting this year. So let's go over to this game, which is probably going to, I could see this being a bloodbath. Pittsburgh at Dallas. So we'll start with Pittsburgh. I mean, James Conner's is an absolute smash this week. I don't think there's any way outside of that. But with the Steelers wide receivers, and this game is almost to a 2-touchdown Dallas being a 2-touchdown underdog. Are you fading the Steelers receivers a little bit in this matchup, thinking, the Steelers are going to be up big and maybe they just kind of salt this away after halftime?
I still think like maybe to a degree, but I've been kind of on Juju Smith-Schuster the last few weeks. I think he was hurt early, and I think he's starting to like just kind of blossom and be fine now. So I still think they're going to try and keep that momentum going with him, maybe in a weird way to make up for lost time. The other ones I would be fading anyway because they just kind of like they just cannibalize each other in a weird way. Like it's Claypool one week, it's Deontay Johnson the next, but I think Juju Smith-Schuster is got momentum, and maybe it'll all be in the first half, and he'll be the guy who gets them that lead. But he's the one I'm kind of fearlessly throwing in there.
Yeah, I think the 3 interceptions by Ben last week, I don't know. I want to pretend that he's going to try and make up for that and just go ham this game. But like you said it might be a bloodbath, which I'm just chuckling at. Like, this is going to be a total domination. There's no one on Dallas that I have any interest in starting. I will start Zeke solely because I'm like legally obligated to as a fantasy football owner. That's it.
You know what? Inside Injuries had this tweet last week. I think it was them, or maybe they retweeted it. Roethlisberger was getting his surgically repaired elbow massaged on the sideline. I think after the second interception, someone saw him on the sideline with like a trainer massaging his elbow. So I don't know if that's a thing.
Like each other.
Yeah, that could be it. It could be the normal thing that happens every game. It was a very nice little detail, though.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Oh no, I'm doing good.
Yeah, nothing to see here, but I'll just say, with Dallas last week, that game was weird, and I was watching, the podcast with Jake Seeley talking about that game. The play calling from Dallas was just weird. It looked like Friday Night Football, West Genesee versus Liverpool.
Yes.
It just looked like, I was hoping Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore would bring out the veer at halftime.
Mike McCarthy, man, is not in a good spot right now.
No,
absolutely not. I mean, at this point, I think you got to pay Dak pretty much like $60 million a year after seeing, what they're trotting out now.
It's crazy.
You definitely, if you're Mike McCarthy, you're almost like, all right, cool. Like, first and second string both got injured. I probably am keeping my job through the end of the year. I'm not getting fired before Adam, so we're good there. Because if you get fired before Adam Gase, something is gone awry.
Yeah, that's a guy I have no idea how he's kept the job this long. But hey, I mean, good on him.
Oh, we'll get to him.
He's feeding his family. I mean, that's all you can hope for at this point. But let's go over to the Dolphins at the Cardinals here. So we saw to not have to do much. Basically lean on the defense and special teams last week in their win against the Rams. But now they just lost Myles Gaskin in that backfield for a few weeks. So now we're really talking about, is Parker wide receiver 3? I'm under the impression that the big winner in the trade deadline was Mike Gesicki because Isaiah Ford is out as the slot guy. So am I crazy and wanted to get back on that Mike Gesicki train, Nando?
No, I mean there were the comments that he had where he said he was working on the scout team with Tua beforehand anyway, so they have a little bit of a rapport. But yeah, with Isaiah Ford out, I mean Antonio so I have a team with my friend Dan, and we were looking at bids last night. He had a $4 bid for Antonio Callaway, and we only had like $16 left. It's a keeper league, it's dynasty. Like, what are you doing, man? He's like, Miami, and he's a smart guy, so I'm like, all right. I liked Antonio Callaway before, maybe, but that's not going to turn me off to Gesicki.
I think you were just biased.
What? Against Antonio Callaway? Yeah.
Or did you just, from your background with the Browns?
It's I love all ex-Browns, especially that 1 year Terrell Pryor got 1,000 receiving yards.
I have to say, this is ridiculous that the Miami defense is awesome. And they had just like stomped on the Niners and they went into their bye week and they're like, oh yeah, we're going with Tua. Like, what? They could be doing something this year with Fitzpatrick. They would be a playoff team, I think, if they had kept him in. I don't think that they're not now, but they're not going to have the firepower. And it's like, man, let Fitz ride this and see where it goes. I feel like he really deserved it. I get that NFL is totally different than individual feelings and whatnot, but like, dude, that Fitzpatrick's been pretty awesome, and he's going to be a really good teacher. Like, let him have this, and then bring in Tua if it doesn't work out.
Well, I think
it was strange.
Weren't the Ravens doing all right with Flacco, and then they switched to Lamar Jackson, and he like supercharged them? I assume that's what they're trying to do here. It's just basically copy what the Ravens did a couple of years ago. I think
they're just so. I don't know. I think it's just because Lamar, and hindsight's 2020, but because Lamar, you knew, had that extra gear. That Tua's extra gear is just to be a good be a good to great quarterback, but his extra gear isn't to be something special,
right?
At least not right now.
Yeah, that was my line of thinking with, Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert. Taylor can only take you so far till it plateaus, and then, you got to see what you have in Herbert, and he could unlock something. So kind of that same line of thinking there. But, let's go over to Sunday Night Football here. We got Saints at Buccaneers. So
Wait. Arizona real quick. I think we probably know who we're starting on offense, with the exception of Edmonds and Drake. It sounds like Drake is probably going to sit. So with Edmonds, how high up do you have Edmonds this week? Is he an RB1?
Yeah, he is for me. I like him a lot. I dare say I love him. He was already involved in the passing game before Drake went out, and now he's just kind of taking over Drake's running role too. So I'm all in on Chase Edmonds. I think he understands that offense.
Any deep like then for Eno Benjamin as potentially just coming in and being the poor man's Drake in this, at least this iteration of the offense?
I learned my lesson because I loved D'Ernest Johnson for like the 2 straight weeks. I was just, come on, man, they got to do it. Kareem Hunt's not going to get all the carries, and Kareem Hunt got all the carries. But they totally changed their offense and just ran it through one guy. Yeah. And my hunch is that's what Arizona is going to do too. I'm not going to fall for that twice.
Yeah, makes sense. I love you. I hope he blows up.
I'll hold back my D'Ernest Johnson fab takes for another day, because I've already 2 straight weeks now, Gary. Yeah, I've said at least something. Yeah. So now, we got Arizona out of the way. So let's go over to Sunday Night Football here. Saints at Buccaneers. Breeze versus Brady. That's what the taglines are going to be telling you on TV. But Alvin Kamara, take away his rushing stats, and just on his receiving work, the dude's still RB5 or wide receiver 10. So it's absolutely fantastic what he's doing. But we know Tampa Bay is been locked down on running backs the entire season. So you're not starting Kamara. You're starting him no matter what. I think that does take away a little bit of that Latavius Murray utility. I think he was kind of fading anyway. But as far as the Tampa Bay defense, with potential Michael Thomas returning, what can you honestly expect out of this Saints passing game? Jared Cook, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, do you expect Michael Thomas to be back finally this week?
I don't know. I would say probably not. Like it's you saw it with obviously Tevin Coleman with the aggravation. Michael Thomas, it's got to be related. Like he had to have been favoring something to get a somewhat related leg injury. So I assume they're going to exercise caution. I don't know, man. This is going to be weird. Like this whole Drew Brees thing from the start of the season has just been so odd. And I think it's because he doesn't have Michael Thomas there. But who knows? He might just gotten that year older all of a sudden. Aged 5 years in 1 year, basically.
I will actually disagree, and I think that Michael Thomas will be back because this game could decide. Well, I guess their second game after this, but decide the division. They're both 2 of the top teams, and high up there in the NFC. They're going to do everything they can to not lose this. Your question of how do you look at the passing attack? I think this is going to be one of those games where they just pass. It is so damn hard to run on the Bucs. That why would you even put Kamara in that situation? If anything, let Latavius try and run them down, see if you're going to get any room. And if not, you're going to go Kamara, get MT out there, get Cook, maybe even Traquan. Is Manny Sanders going to be back, or is he still on the COVID?
I think he's still on COVID. Last I checked, I think he's still on COVID.
Yeah. So I think Breeze is probably going to have a pretty good game just because we know that Tampa Bay is going to come firing on all cylinders this week.
Yeah, and then over to Tampa, the curse of Bruce Arians, where we saw Rojo just, go off in the middle, a few weeks ago, and now inexplicably it's Leonard Fournette time after Rojo got benched after that fumble last week. So, right now it's Fournette's backfield until something happens with Fournette, and right now I would say he's the only guy you can trust out of that backfield. I don't think you really trust Rojo right now, can you, Nando?
No, not at all. I mean, you could trust him if he was on a different team, probably, but yeah, I think like Leonard Fournette's awesome. Like I think people forget like how good Leonard Fournette was, a couple of years ago, last year.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with him being the starting running back there. I'm good. I'm a Leonard Fournette guy. I'm probably in the 1 percentile of Leonard Fournette lovers. So
the Fournette truther du jour.
Yeah, I would say that, man. Like, there aren't a lot of us, but I really, really like Leonard Fournette. I think he's awesome.
Awesome.
He's just so straight. If he hadn't have gone fourth overall, he would just have such a different reputation in the NFL. I think if he had been like even a back of the first round pick, it would be an entirely different conversation. But he's just not that. He's good, but he's just. Chris Godwin's going to be out. It looks like. I was just looking. It sounds like he still has his cast on his hand, and so. Antonio Brown. You guys firing him up?
Well, he did it with the Patriots, and everyone talked about how complicated the Patriots playbook is supposed to be to figure out. And I think he was like, 6 for 54 with a touchdown in his first only game with the Patriots. So, man, I mean, like he's got Tom Brady tutoring him, introducing him to self-help gurus. Like that guy, he's going to know the playbook, and I'm sure Brady's going to look to him to make some kind of point. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game. I think this is going to be like Tom Brady is the kind of guy who's going to be like, this is my guy. I'm going to make sure he has 1 billion yards and a bunch of touchdowns just to show him that he's our guy. So I would
heard
not
it
be
here
surprised.
first with Nando to Fino. 1 billion yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns for Antonio
Over under.
Brown this week.
Antonio Brown is my captain in Showdown. It's happening.
There we go.
It could happen.
Yes, absolutely could happen. 100%. So we go from this awesome Sunday night football game to Monday night football. I guess we have to talk about this game for contractual reasons, but Patriots at the Jets. So, we're talking about 2 of the probably unfriendliest fantasy football offenses with the Patriots and the Jets. So, right now it's really looking like Damian Harris and Jacoby Myers. I mean, are you starting James White? What else can you really hang your hat on in this Patriots offense? I mean, maybe Cam Newton too, but you just got to hope you're getting a rushing touchdown out of him. So, anybody else we should be paying attention to, Nando?
I don't think Keel Harry's borderline, maybe, right? He's
Probably not.
probably, yeah. So probably not then. I'll go probably a hard pass on basically that's such a man, Pats. They should just held on to Mohamed Sanu.
Right.
So, right? And so should the 49ers. But yeah, no.
It's the long call by the Pats. They're going to re-sign Mo, and then all of a sudden Mo Sanu is going to blow up for them like they normally do.
This would be Rex Burkhead 120-yard game.
And then after this game, Isaiah Ford will be a wide receiver 1 because of the whole Dolphins slot receiver narrative.
Well, Demir Bird played a lot of snaps, and there was this weird stat. There's this next-gen stat of like yards traveled in a game where they track just how much a guy has run. Not even like during. I don't even think it's during playing time. Like him jogging, running, whatever. And like the top 10 is all these incredible wide receivers, and like number 8 is Demir Bird. So I don't know if that. I mean, like I don't know what that stat means or what it tells.
Just
but when you dig a little
around.
deeper to Demir Bird, there's maybe a little something there. Maybe.
I want that job. Who do you talk to get that job?
I'm sure it's just Chip.
Good. Yeah, for real. Okay, I want to be able to install the chip. There we go. That's my my foot in the door. But yeah, so let's talk about the Jets here. Gary, can't think of anybody that really can be started with any kind of comfortability. What are your thoughts here? I mean, Pirine, Mims, what do you got?
Yeah, I don't mind Mims. I mean, Mims might have a welcome to the NFL game if he has to go up against Stephon Gilmore. the hope, you really just are hoping that Perriman or Crowder are going to be back. If they're not, I mean, then no, I'm not starting anybody. Mims was like a upside play because they were going against the Chiefs last week, but against the Jets, against the Patriots, like it's not as if I expect them to have to come back. I just feel like this is one of those games that could be 6-3 and everybody be like, yeah, like that makes sense. They're the two worst offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, I think if Mims scores on Stephon Gilmore, he should buy his house. That should be the stipulation.
Isn't Gilmore still COVID? Is he off that now?
No, that's just how bad Mims. He's just gonna play that poorly.
I love it. All right, so that's the Week 9 slate. Thanks for sticking with us, and Nando, thanks for coming on with us. Really appreciate you rapping with us for an hour and change here.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. So again, tell us where we can find you, and we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, just check out The Athletic. I'm editing. I think I write once a week, once every 2 weeks now. But everyone else there is great. Just come on by, check it out. There are all kinds of specials we're running if you just want to trial it.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I love it. I have it on I have the app on my phone and stuff. I think it's fantastic.
It's a good group.
It is.
Yeah,
it is for sure. That's actually. I won a subscription, and Nando was the one that reached out to me about that. So that's how we linked up, and how we got Nando to somehow come on with us here.
Well, hey man, come on! The power of Syracuse too. Let's not forget.
Exactly.
Brings people together.
5.
But honestly, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been so awesome.
Man. Thanks for having me.
I wish that it wasn't like today in this. I honestly am very distracted, as I'm sure a lot of people are. But yeah, man, I am. Don't give me that look, Kevin. I'm just saying it. I'm just, dude. Like Nando coming on here is like the coolest thing. Honestly, like I told
don't let Liz Loza hear that
stuff. So.
I know, right?
She's already even pissed off that I forgot her name earlier.
Yeah, exactly. You're just calling them Jukes Liz Loza or the other way around. But, yeah, so that's Fighting Chance Live for Week 9. Everybody, good luck. And for Nando Fino, again, thank you, my friend, for coming on. For Gary Haddo, I'm Kevin Tompkins. Go to fightingchancefantasy.com. We're doing a lot of great stuff over there. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere you're finding us on the World Wide Web, on the internets. And hit that subscribe button. Send us a review. Gary's going to lap through it. So it's all great, and I appreciate it, buddy.
You're just reading the ticker on the bottom.
You know what? I'm
ruining your outro.
It's my New York public education. I can't remember a lot of things. So, all right. So again, thank you so much, and have a great night, everybody.